Jimmy, let's switch to football. Georgia makes a run at Tennessee wide receivers coach Kelsey Pope. According to various reports, want to credit the guys at VolQuest. So that they're the ones who reported it. If that's the case and Tennessee was able to fend off Georgia for an assistant coach, how significant is that in the relative standings between the two programs?
I think it's really significant that Tennessee was able to keep Kelsey Pope. First off, I think Pope's relationship with Josh Heupel is very strong, and Heupel gave him the chance when he promoted him after Cody Burns left. I also think that Pope likes coaching in this system. He feels like he's got a say in it and what they do, and he has an impact. But to stay at Tennessee over Georgia, which in any given year right now can win a national championship, I think that says a lot about Tennessee, and also about Pope's feeling that Tennessee is perhaps on the cusp of doing something special. They've had one special year under Heupel, and they may be headed toward another one this year. But for him to stay here rather than go to a program that could win it all, and by the way, they've got a heck of a quarterback at Georgia, right? They've got good receivers at Georgia. The talent pool in that state's ridiculously good. And so the ceiling for Georgia is typically going to be higher than Tennessee in any given year. So I think it speaks a lot to Tennessee, the culture, and to Heupel to be able to keep Kelsey Pope.
Yeah, so, I was a big fan of the Kelsey Pope promotion when it happened because, according to all reports, he was the guy who kind of developed Cedric Tillman when they first hired him. So, Jimmy, how is Kelsey Pope one of the most underrated members on this staff? I mean, Georgia wanted him, and he developed Cedric Tillman, and then after he became the actual on-field assistant coach, he turned Jalen Hyatt into a Blitnikoff winner. Is this a guy we're really overlooking as someone who could kind of climb the ranks in Heupel's offense?
Probably. And the way I say probably, I did not think the receivers performed that well last year. Was that Pope's fault? Did he have a lack of talent? Was Dante Thornton more worried about his NIL money than catching passes? I don't know. I think this year is going to be a huge year for Kelsey Pope. Now, and going back to what you said, Cedric Tillman was a guy that I thought he caught 8 passes his first 3 years at Tennessee. I didn't think he was any good based on his production. Well, I was wrong, and so were the staff that had him before. Hyatt had drop problems the first year, and then when he was able to catch it and gain some confidence, he became a fantastic college receiver. This, to me, is a very defining year for Pope, though. I want to see what he can do with this group. He's obviously got to mix in somebody that hasn't been productive at Tennessee. You got McCoy. Thornton didn't do much last year, and just when it looked like he was turning the corner, he got hurt. You're bringing in a transfer from Tulane. You're bringing in a 5-star. I want to see what the receivers do this year. This to me, Caleb, is a big year in defining just how good Pope is. He's already proven on a couple of occasions to do a really good job. This year, though, will be, I think, a challenge to see if Tennessee's receiving corps can get back to where it had been previously.
Portions of the program brought to you by Boundless Moving. That's who I use. Boundless Moving, from anywhere from a 2-hour minimum to turnkey operations. They've got you covered. Their motto is personal service without limits. It's not just their tagline. It's part of who they are. It's their DNA. Boundless Moving, whether you're moving and you want it all taken care of, or you just want the heavy stuff picked up like me. And I certainly wanted that. Boundless Moving. I highly endorse them. Support our sponsors. That's why we're here. Where does Kelsey Pope rank among the best recruiters on Tennessee's staff?
Is that for
to be frank with you, I don't know
Jimmy.
the answer to that.
It's
I
tough
don't know the
now
answer
with
to that, Dave. There's so much cross recruiting. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. It is tough now to determine who's in charge of who with cross recruiting. And I've noticed that as well. You used to be able to point to one assistant coach and say Dan Brooks brought in 8 guys, right? And that was a former defensive tackle coach for Tennessee. Is that a trend that that you believe Tennessee's on the front end of, or is that just the trend in college football now? Because I hear guys talking about prospects talking about Coach blank, and he's actually just an analyst, but they consider him a coach. Do you think that's just kind of the way football is going now, or is that Tennessee's approach to recruiting?
I think it's the way football is going now. And to your point, Tennessee's had quality control coaches that have been the lead on getting some players to come to Tennessee. You have recruiting. Used to be that just were assigned an area. And if Dan Brooks got a guy to North Carolina, it was Dan Brooks. But now you've got a coach recruiting an area, then the position coach goes in, the head coach goes in, a quality control coach may be the first to make a contact. And then when he develops a relationship, he hands it off to the position coach. So to me, it's really hard to figure all that out. And I thought of Rodney Garner as a really good recruiter through the years, but it's hard for me to see where he's got his fingerprints on a lot of players that are coming to Tennessee right now. So I do think it's harder to determine that. From what I hear, Kelsey Pope is a good recruiter, but how would I rank him on the staff? I really don't know. I'd probably put him in the top 4 or 5, but I don't know how to rank him, whether he should be 1, 2, or 3, or 4 in this group.
Caleb, I want to kick it to you. He's young and relatable, but he probably doesn't have the same connections that a Garner would because he's been around a little bit longer. And the ghost of Johnny Major says, "Hi, Dave, Caleb, and the legend, Jimmy Hyams, the legend." We should call this Legendary Wednesdays with Jimmy.
No,
Yeah. So Kelsey Pope, he has Alabama ties, which is valuable because he's from Alabama and he played at Samford from 2010 to 2013. He did spend 2 years in Ohio. He spent 2 years in Georgia. And then he's been in Tennessee since 2019, to be honest. Not at Tennessee itself, but Tennessee Tech, Gardner Webb. And so I would say that, I mean, I feel like spending time in those places has to give him some recruiting connections. I think with Kelsey Pope more than anything, I think it's his age. He's the guy that really relates to recruits on just a regular personal level. And I think that helps a lot. I think that's the biggest asset he brings as a recruiter to the table. But the other thing is, I think for Kelsey Pope, I mean, I look at staff members and I think some are primary recruiters and some are developers of talent. Some are both. Like Rodney Garner recruits well and he coaches well. I think Kelsey Pope, the focus is more on just his actual developing of wide receivers. I think he actually is involved in the game planning room with Heupel and Joey Halsley. I think Kelsey Pope is more along that lines of a staff member.
Jimmy, where would you in terms of Tennessee's recruiting?
Here's
Go ahead, Jimmy. I'm sorry. We're having connection issues. My apologies. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that in terms of Garner and Pope, while I think both are assets and very good recruiters, their coaching styles on the field couldn't be any more different. Garner's a chew you out, kick you in the butt, and then love you after practice. Kelsey Pope is a guy that encourages you. He had to really work with Jalen Hyatt to restore his confidence. He's a pat you on the back. Yes, you're capable of doing this. Yes, you've got a great ceiling. Yes, you have a lot of talent. That's his style, which is a complete opposite of Garner, and yet both get a lot of production out of their position players.
Yep, they do.